Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about sunken cakes, why they sink and how to fix them. And at the same time I'm going to be showing you guys how to ganache the cake and still get really sharp edges even though they were sunken. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our cakes into slices, and I'm going to show you guys how to fix the sunken parts without wasting any part of the cake. So first thing you do is cut out the top, like the overhanging parts of the top of the cake, and then stuff it into the hole, like the sunken space in the middle of the cake. So I'm going to show you guys how to position this so it doesn't fall apart or so it doesn't break down. But before we go ahead, I'm going to tell you guys the reasons why cakes might sink in the middle. So the first reason is maybe you added too much baking powder or too much baking soda. It means it rose to a particular point, and then at a point the volume of the flour and sugar and whatever it was you mixed together couldn't hold itself in place to stay there, so it sank in the middle because it was too soft in the middle. So another reason is maybe you added too much fluid. This happens to me usually when I bake vanilla cakes, especially vanilla cupcakes. Seriously, when you make cupcakes that look like that because you added too much whatever it was you added, just throw it away because nobody wants to eat that. There is no way of fixing it, and you don't want to give anybody's child that kind of cake to eat. So in the case of cupcakes, just dump them and make new ones. So the third reason is maybe you opened the oven too early. Usually when you're making maybe a cake or a set of cupcakes, it's best usually when you're making cupcakes, it's best you leave the oven till maybe a few minutes to the estimated time of baking before you open the oven to check if it's okay. The same thing with cakes. You shouldn't just open your oven at any time, because every time you open the oven, you're letting out heat from the oven, and the point is to preserve the heat because it's the heat that bakes the cake. So if you let out heat, it means when you close back the oven has to reheat. I don't know if that makes sense. So now that we've sliced and stuffed our cakes, I'm going to show you guys how to position the cakes so they don't fall in the middle, or so it's not slanty or dented. So be mindful that I put the flat side downwards, so the sunken part was facing upward, and I filled it with buttercream. And the next thing I did was to add the next layer, and I filled that with buttercream as well. The next layer I'm going to add right now is also the sunken part, which means the under is sunken, and I turned it upside down. Do you understand? That way the buttercream you put on the layer beneath it would fill that spot and not let your cake sink. Does that make sense? But anyways, every time you stack a cake or you put a cake together, make sure the flat surface is facing up and you fill the spaces as much as possible. So right now, look at that sunken part. We're going to fill it with buttercream. Even though we already filled it with the cake scraps that we cut from the top, we're going to fill this top with buttercream and then put the next layer on it inverted. I'm sure that makes sense, yeah? Okay, so like that. So look at that sunken layer as well. I'm going to put it on top inverted. I'm going to turn it upside down. That way the buttercream in this layer is going to fill that space. Yes, that's what we're doing. So right now I'm going to show you guys how to ganache the cake. Usually I like to ganache my cakes in 5 parts. This is the first part. The first part is I pour some ganache on top of it, and then I smoothen it around, and then I'm going to pour another layer that is going to get to the bottom of the cake. The point of ganaching the cake is to have a coating firm enough for you to put the fondant on, and it will stick and still look very neat. Do you understand? And give you the crisp, sharp edges everyone likes. So right now we're going to cover the whole cake, and we're going to cover it in layers because we want the ganache to not be too thick, but to be thick enough for your fondant to be able to stick to, and for it to be able to hold its spots. I don't know if that makes sense. So now I'm going to add the third layer. This is the third layer, and I'm going to smoothen it around. And be mindful, for every time you leave your ganache out, it starts to firm up. So you should warm it up at intervals in the microwave for like maybe 5 to 10 seconds, 10 seconds, so it to be easy to work with. That way it's more liquidy and to be easier for you to work with. So now this is the first layer. It is really easy. You just want, it's just like your layering makeup. I don't know if that makes sense. You're going to put the first layer of foundation, especially if you have maybe problematic spots on your face. The first layer of foundation, allow that to firm up and then apply another one. That's exactly the same thing we're doing here. You don't have to wait for it to firm up. As you're working, it's firming up. So that's the more reason why you have to melt your ganache in the microwave at least maybe 2 or 3 times before you finish this step, because it sets up pretty fast. So this is the 5th layer. So this is basically just sealing everything and for it to be smooth and nice. So we're going to smoothen this around and then scrape it. And when you scrape, make sure you're holding your scraper like upright. That way it won't be slanty or your cake won't bend. That way your cake will be straight up. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned 1 or 2 things. So like and subscribe and share, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Anywho's, those 2 cakes finally became this cake, this secret cake, and this forex cake. Thank you guys. See you next time.